It's actually incredibly easy to produce content en masse these days. For companies like OpenAI, producing tools like ChatGPT, anyone can produce huge swathes of content that could be great for SEO for their website. However, you can't just take that and run with it. There's plenty of examples on the internet of AI content wrecking their website. There's many videos, there's many articles. Like just for this search result alone, there's 147 million, and ChatGPT only came out a year ago. And the similar things that happen with chatbots, with absolute craziness, with company chatbots calling themselves useless and criticizing the firm that literally launched them. So what can we do to make sure that when we're producing content for our website, that we're at the highest quality and that we're ultimately going to produce something that's going to get us those great rankings? One thing that I like to do is make sure that I'm custom training a model. So I like to get a bunch of keywords, so like best gadgets for 2023, best e-commerce platforms, and then I like to search for them inside of Google. I'm not going to show you all my code here, but essentially I will search in Google for the results, and then I'll produce a CSV file that contains all the information about every site that I found. So I'll look at the meta description, the subheadings, the H1, the niche that it falls into, the markdown of the body, and I will make a point to remove any adverts from that content, and I will ultimately find out what it is that's ranking, what is performing the best. From here, I'll then perform extra data analysis on it. So I will do things like look at the meta description length, and I'll make sure that if it's greater than 150 characters, I'll keep it in, or if it's less than 160 characters, I'll keep it in. These are the premium spots of meta description. We know these are the best. And then I'll run a bunch of analytics. So I'll see what position companies generally rank in, depending on like their meta description length and their word count. And I'll see what's performing the best across the industry. To do this, it's very important that when you're scraping a website, you're only pulling out specifically the content that's on the page. You don't want the headers, you don't want the footers, you don't want the adverts, you don't want the table of contents, you don't want any menus. You have to be very clever about what you scrape. Don't just put everything in there because you can end up with a bunch of text that's not really relevant. Then from this, you can pull out keywords that are important. You can really delve into the niche and really produce something that's exceptionally good. Those of you that have ever done any kind of API interaction with OpenAI will understand this sort of format, but I then format the messages. I then format the API calls that I'd make into this JSON lines file. So you've got the system prompt, then I'll move on to like the keyword, the content, and the article as a whole. And then once I've formatted all of this, I will then run it through OpenAI checker code. So you can find that from OpenAI. It looks a bit like this. I've modified this slightly so that it caches tick token and stuff, but you can see it essentially goes through everything, makes sure that all the correct attributes are there, make sure there's a system message, a user message, an assistant message, make sure that the distribution's correct, that we've not got any messages that are too long, that we've got messages that are all under 496 tokens. I then do some stuff to basically manipulate the data based on this results. So I can figure out whether I need some samples that are longer, some samples that are shorter, whether there are any samples that I don't particularly want. I try and estimate the cost of training, and then once I'm happy with it, I can put it for a fine tune. So the process for this is pretty simple. You basically pick your base model. So I would pick GPT Turbo. Unfortunately, they haven't put the newer 125 one on there, but you can still do this one, which is pretty up to date. Then you upload your CSV, or your JSON lines file, and you give it a name, and then you just click start. Normally, I'll do this from the command prompt because that's just how I'm inclined, but obviously you're more than welcome to use the nice UI that they've added to make things pretty. So here you can see I've just put in some data here. So I've put the system prompt from my training. I've put in some information here. So a keyword, a niche, domain, date, and some example section headings. And then I'm using my fine-tuned model here. So now I can just click submit, and this will generate, based on my training data, it's designed to format it like this. So you can see that the page title is different from the main H1 because the page title is what will show up in Google, and the main H1 will be what will appear at the top of the page. So the main H1 is generally designed to be more human readable, and the page title is designed to be what will get you the click through from Google. Like, they're different things. When you're reading the article, you want to understand the article more, whereas from Google, it's more like this is going to answer your query, so I should go there to read more. And again, the meta description, so I imagine, because this is based on training data, if I go to word counter and I paste this in, you can see this is 152 characters. That's perfect. That's exactly what we want, and that's because we've done that fine tune. And it's even given us a suggested URL here. So this sort of article is likely to be the pillar page. So it would generally be here, but if our keyword was how to groom your cat on a Sunday when it's raining, because you might have some ridiculous keyword, it's much more likely to be in a it's kind of getting for the top thing because I did such a ridiculous keyword, but it would know to put it under a different URL. Again, you can see from the meta description here with this contrived example that actually it's put a call to action, and again, that's what you potentially want from your meta description, because this is what gets shown on the Google result page. And again, you can see that it's pulled out the website name and it's handled this. If I was to change this domain to be mycat.com, you'll see that the generated response will also reflect that. And yeah, because it's got this slightly more awkward thing, it's thinking that for my cat, it's going to be under the grooming subcategory. Again, if I was to take that meta description and put it in word counter, it's again 152 characters. That's perfect, just to prove that it is correct. There we go. And because I've done this fine tune, again, I can throw literally anything at it. How to groom a dog. So now I've done it about dog. Hopefully the section titles will be similar enough. And again, if I was to take this meta description and throw it in the word counter, I would imagine it's going to be 148 characters. Perfect. But yeah, this is the power of fine tuning. And I've only given you a simple example here. As you can see, I've got loads of fine tunes that do all sorts of different things. And that is really how I make my model stand out. So by doing that, not only am I producing AI content, but I'm producing AI content that's tuned to what Google's looking for, because I've taken the results that are on Google's page and really run with it. And there's some extra things that I do. So I don't just pump in the results of Google. You also have to be smarter. So we did that filtering. It was important to do the filtering. But on top of that, we can enhance it. So we can say what a search result's trying to achieve. We can add in like what common keywords appear throughout the research result page, and just ultimately do anything that will help make us rank higher. It's by doing stuff like this that we don't get hit by things like the helpful content update, because we're already doing what Google wants. We're satisfying its need, and we're making it very, very happy. But if you want to know more, let me know, and I'll be in the comments.